Hey, what's up everyone? Adam here with Bro We Got This, and today I'm going to go over the best DPS sets for stamina today, from the easiest ones to use to the hardest ones or more advanced, because a lot of beginner players and players in general don't realize that some sets are effectively useless if you can't use them correctly. So let's help you understand ESO sets a little better. Before we get started, I do want to mention that if you want to watch me play live, I stream on twitch.tv/BroWeGotThis at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. You can also join our vast community on the Discord, the Brafia, or our two guilds. The links to the Discord and the Twitch channel are in the description. Also, if you like this content, make sure to like, subscribe, heavy attack that bell icon to know when videos are released, new guides are out, and more giveaways. And if you want to join my newly launched Patreon, you can check out the perks there, like early access to videos and vlogs and Q&As, things like that, and much, much more. You can check that out in the description as well. And lastly, make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram to stay up to date as well with the channel. So if you are a new player or even an experienced player, you probably noticed again that there are a few sets in the game that you can keep hearing about or your build requires as a stamina DPS for the best meta setup. The issue is a lot of newer players in this game don't understand that some of these sets require a high skill level to use them effectively, and if you can't hit that skill level, this set is basically useless for you. So I will explain myself more here in a little bit when we go through the actual sets, but I want to break down the different types of armor sets first to help you understand why some of them are harder to use versus the more beginner friendly ones. And I do want to mention, I know some of these sets are possibly going to get changes in the next update, but that is about a month away, so I think some of these are still going to be pretty solid. First, some sets have what I like to call static effects, where if you are using these sets, as long as you have the required pieces of armor on you, you're going to get that effect no matter what. You don't need to light attack a certain amount of times. It's a set bonus that is easier to utilize for beginners. An example of this type of set, in my opinion, is the Mother's Sorrow set. So if you look here, we've got the Mother's Sorrow set. Again, you just see it adds spell critical, spell critical, spell critical, and max magicka. There's nothing you need to do to activate this set other than have it equipped and, basically do your rotation. Obviously, you can't just stand there and not do your rotation and light attack. You need to do that, but it's not something that requires you to necessarily move to a certain area or place something down. So that's the first type of set that you have. The second type of set is situational sets. These sets are used in optimal situations and certain builds. So the set that I want to give you an example of with this is Burning Spellweave, okay? This set's going to be used in specific builds. The reason is, if you look at the 5-piece bonus, it says when you deal flame or damage with the flame damage ability, you have 15% chance to apply burning status effect and increase your spell damage, blah, 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 blah. If you're not using flame damage abilities, then this set shouldn't be on. So this is a situational set that is only effective if your character or class is using flame abilities. So keep that in mind. The last kind of set that I want to highlight before I go through my list is the more advanced sets, or sets that require you to perform an action either over an extended period of time or use an action a certain amount of times. Now what I mean by this is, let's take two sets, one being Reliquin and another being Sororias. So Reliquin requires you to keep your light attacks up every 5 seconds. If you aren't light or heavy attacking, the 5-piece bonus harmful wind stacks will disappear. And if you don't keep this set up at most times in your fight, it's basically not doing anything for you. This is a required action. So you see that it says your light and heavy attacks apply a stack of harmful winds to your target for 5 seconds. If you don't keep those light attacks and heavy attacks up, they will go away, and it's not optimal. Sororia's 5-piece set procs when you use a single target attack. You will get this ring of fire beneath you. If you stand in that ring, it grants you a boon that increases spell damage. If you leave that ring though, or have to move around a lot, it will cause the boon to drop off eventually after 5 seconds. So as you'll see right here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to do my Sororia's boon. This is Sororia's boon right there. If I stand outside of Sororia's boon, it goes away. As you see, it's about to leave, and there it goes. So with Sororia, you've got to pay attention to where you do this. So if you've got a boss that's going to be moving around a lot, or you proc it really far away from the boss, you need to make sure that you can stand in the circle. So this is more of an advanced set. As you can see, these two sets have a higher learning curve. If you don't perform that required action, then the set isn't going to be utilized as well, and it's going to need to be either replaced or you're going to have to practice more. Now let's go through the top 10 stamina sets for DPS that are easiest to use to the hardest ones. Now with stamina, I think the sets are actually a little more challenging to use in my opinion. The first 5 sets though are very easy to use because again, they're mainly static effects or effects you don't have to do anything to use them other than do your rotations and skills. So the first one is Hunting's Rage. This adds weapon critical, max stamina, weapon critical, and weapon damage. This classic beginner craftable set is always going to be a solid stamina DPS set. You can't go wrong with this, and it's just not hard to use because you just have to do your rotation. The next one is Briarheart. Briarheart adds weapon critical, max stamina, weapon critical. When you deal critical damage, you have a 25% chance to increase your weapon damage by 424 for 10 seconds. While this effect is active, your critical strikes heal you for 356 health. This effect can occur every 15 seconds. This set is based off of critical damage. So as long as your build is doing this, okay, as long as your build is able to, proc that, you're going to have a very easy time using this, and this is going to perform really well for you. This set is farmable in the overland of Hrothgar. It's very pricey to buy on guild traders, so sometimes people switch this set out with other sets, but this is a solid stamina DPS set. The next set is Strength of Automatons, or Automatons, however you want to say it. I don't know if I said that right, but this is farmable in Darkshade Caverns 1 and 2. This adds weapon critical, max stamina, weapon damage, and adds 386 weapon damage to your physical damage abilities. This is, again, a very straightforward and not hard set to use, so you just have to do your rotations and make sure this set, works with the build that you have. The next set is Spriggan's Thorns. Spriggan's Thorns is basically the stamina version of Spinners. It adds max stamina, weapon damage, and it adds 3450 physical penetration. So this is farmable in Bankurai zone. And so you do Overland, world bosses, delves, public dungeons, all that good stuff. This, again, is a very simple static effect, and it's not anything you have to worry about. It's pretty simple and a great solo set to use as well. The last one is actually becoming one of my favorite stamina sets to use right now, and that is actually the Venomous set. And I have that one on right here. And this adds 794 weapon critical, 794 weapon critical, weapon damage, and dealing critical damage inflicts Hunter's Venom on your enemy for 10 seconds, dealing 2670 poison damage to your target and nearby enemies every 1 second. This effect can occur every 15 seconds. The reason that this is something I really, really love is, one, it's very simple to use because you'll crit a lot. But one of the other reasons is, you'll see it right there. There it is. If the target's moving, it'll actually move with them, and then it'll damage anything else that's in there. So it's just so awesome. I think it's just a great set. It's just a great overall set, and it's farmable in the Western Skyrim Overland set. So from the new Greymoor chapter, it's farmable in that. And again, you just don't really have to worry about any advanced stuff with this. It's just a great overall set, and it does a lot of damage. The next set is Deadly, and it adds weapon damage, weapon critical, weapon damage, and increases the damage of your physical, bleed, poison, and disease damage over time, and channeled abilities do by 20%. Okay, this is in PvP. You can get this from the Bruma boxes by buying them with Alliance points in Town of Bruma. And this set is a situational set, in my opinion. I think it's a great stamina DPS set, but I think if you're not using any of the 5-piece things like the physical, bleed, poison, disease damage, or channeled abilities, this set is probably going to be replaced with something else. But I would say that a lot of builds use those sort of abilities, so you just have to kind of weigh and see, hey, am I going to get a ton or a full potential out of this? If you're using a lot of that, then it is probably going to be a great set for your build. But you just have to pay attention to that and make sure that it's actually working for your build. The next set is Aegis Caller. Aegis Caller is becoming one of my favorite sets because it just has really cool animation. But this set is farmable from the Unhallowed Grave dungeon, and this adds weapon damage, stamina recovery, weapon damage, and when you deal critical melee damage, summon a Lesser Aegis for 11 seconds. After 2.5 seconds, the Lesser Aegis spins its blades, dealing 4,391 bleed damage every 1 second. This effect can occur once every 12 seconds. So as you see, it says deals critical melee damage. So do not use this on a bow build. It's most likely not going to be proccing that much unless you've got some melee abilities that you're using from your skills. But this set is really awesome, but it is something that is situational in some ways. It's not that hard to use per se, but when you proc it, it's going to stay on the actual person. So you see that the spins come right there. So if this boss is moving, this Aegis is gonna, for the most part, just stay in the same area. So you have to kind of learn how to, use that in a good fight. So a lot of bosses, they're not going to be running all across the room necessarily, but you just have to keep that in mind that, like, if that procs, you want to make sure it's actually hitting stuff. So if it's in a group of enemies, it's going to really do a lot of damage. But for a boss, you need to make sure that it's on that boss. So if it's not getting on that boss a lot, then you might need to switch it out with something else or just figure out something else with your set. The last 3 sets are more of the advanced stamina DPS sets. The first 2 aren't too bad, but you definitely need to be paying attention with them. So the first one is Alkosh. Alkosh is from the Maw of Lord Kaj trial. That is from the Thieves Guild DLC. This adds weapon critical, it adds your minor slayer, it adds weapon damage, and then when you activate a synergy, you send a shockwave from your position that deals 2089 physical damage. Additional 14,960 physical damage over 10 seconds reduces the physical and spell resistance of any enemy hit by 2835 for 10 seconds. This is a great overall set. A lot of people think that this is just a tanking set, but this is a good DPS set as well. Now, this is around activating synergies. So if you aren't a person that pays attention to those, then this set won't do anything. And the other one is Laquestes, okay? Laquestes is what I have on this character. I'm actually trying out a few sets, but Laquestes adds weapon damage, the minor slayer. It adds more weapon damage, and when you activate a synergy, gain major slayer for 15 seconds, increasing the damage done to dungeon and trial monsters by 15%. Now, this set is farmable from Sunspire, the trial, and elsewhere. If you're used to and been using the synergies like you should be, these sets won't be a problem for you, but if you aren't used to using synergies and you don't pick the synergies up while they are on, these sets won't do well. So if I attack this, trial dummy, I'm gonna, do my attacks, whatever, switch my bar, waiting for him to drop the synergy, He still hasn't done the synergy yet. Hopefully he drops the synergy. So he drops the synergy, and then I get Major Slayer from Laquestes' set. The last set and the most advanced of the best stamina DPS sets is Reliquin. This is from the Cloud Rest Trial in Somerset, and this adds weapon critical, minor slayer, adds weapon critical, and your light and heavy attacks apply a stack of harmful winds to your target for 5 seconds. Harmful winds deal 233 physical damage per stack every 1 second, 20 stacks max. This set has the highest potential of basically all of these sets in my opinion, but it isn't easy to use, especially for newer players. This 5-piece requires you to keep your light and heavy attacks up. If you don't, you will lose your stacks, and this is something that you won't be able to utilize to its fullest potential. You need to either use a different set until your light attack weaving is better, or find other alternatives. So if you look at this target, if I start using my abilities, right? If I light attack, you see those winds? If I do not keep light attacking, right? And right now I'm just light attacking. I'm not even weaving skills in between. It's harder when you have to actually weave skills in between them, because if you're not doing your light attacks, it's not going to keep the stacks up. But you see that I'm keeping the stacks up by light attack. Now, if I stop light attacking, okay, the stacks are going to go away now. And so if you have, people can use these on dummies all day because the dummy isn't moving. The dummy is easier, right? But if you get into mechanics and you're fighting a boss and you can't keep your stacks up, you need to take it off, in my opinion. You need to get better with it. You need to learn how to use another set first, and because basically you could use like the deadly set over this set, and you might end up doing more damage because you don't have to keep necessarily your light attacks up all the time like you do with this set. So just keep that in mind when you are doing these. Again, all these sets are the very best stamina sets in my opinion, and the difficulty of use for each of them doesn't necessarily mean they are worse or if they are easier to use. Like Venomous is a great set, and it's very easy to use, just like Reliquin is a great set, just harder to use. I would say, though, that Relic, when used at its fullest potential, has the highest ceiling. But that is my top DPS sets for Stamina, from easiest to use to most advanced to use. Again, make sure you're paying attention to your sets as a newer player when you hit CP 160, because some of them just aren't going to perform as good as you think if you aren't utilizing them properly. If you like this, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and heavy attack the bell icon to stay up to date on all my releases and giveaways. And if you want to watch me play live, come check it out at twitch.tv/BrobbyGotThis on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can join the Discord and our 2 guilds. The Discord and the Twitch channel is in the description below. And lastly, make sure to check out our newly launched Patreon to see if you're interested in some cool perks like early access to videos, vlogs, and much more. And I want to go and give a shout out to my patrons now. Lloyd Johnson, thank you. HBC, thank you. Man of War, thank you. HVK Reaper, thank you. A Quit, thank you. Jayhawk, thank you. And Robert Aaron, thank you. Thank you all again. And remember, everyone, have faith, be great, and I'll see you on ESO.